Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Friday, November 18, 2022. Before we jump right into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends and family members, and tap the notification bells that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. All right, so let us look at this significant feature, shall we? So, across the Caribbean, we see that we have a stalled out area of a cold front that has, interacted with a trough, and it is seated. It is, let's say, it's stationary right now. So what's going to be happening? We're going to be having more easterly trades coming in from the east, stretching all the way from Africa, coming and, piling all the way into this stalled out front and trough right here. That's causing all of these clouds piling up to the west of Jamaica. So we might see some more rainfall across Jamaica as it pushes towards the west. So we might have some rainfall to worry about as we continue. Let's look at what exactly took place across the island today. So just as predicted, we had some rainfall across eastern parishes, central parishes, and western parishes. We had overcast skies, and when those thunderstorms developed across the island, we saw that the wind shear, the southwesterly wind shear that was predicted, pushed up most of those clouds towards the northeast. So we had some overcast skies and some possible showers across portions of northern Jamaica as well. And we could also see the sparkling white dots indicating thunderstorms across portions of central and western Jamaica as well. According to the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology, we saw where we had those rain showers. Eastern parishes pushing off towards central and western parishes, just as predicted, and with the bias towards majority of the north coast, with the southern coastal areas, being spared with more sunshine and heat. Let us look at the forecast for tomorrow, shall we, as it relates to the wind direction. We're going to be having some windy conditions, some 20 to 25 knot winds, especially along the south coast, according to the Euro model. Where does all the air pile up across the interior area of the island in central and western parishes? What does the GFS show? Basically the same thing. And you know what happens when you have all of that blue, all of that lighter wind across the hilly interior area of the island? We'll have convection, all the clouds piling up during the afternoon, some more rainfall. And with the southwesterly wind shear, according to the Euro model, as well as the GFS model, we're going to be seeing some of those clouds being pushed off to the northeast during the afternoon, bringing overcast skies to portions of northern Jamaica as well. So areas like St. Mary's, St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover will be getting in on some of the overcast skies and rain showers, maybe even northern portions of St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. And considering that all of this easterly wind is coming in fast and it is all piling up on the stationary front and trough, we should be experiencing some showers across eastern Jamaica as well. So portions of St. Thomas and Portland, some of it might even be spilling over into St. Andrew. We'll be getting in on some of that rainfall. Here we have it right here, according to this website. We see that we have some of the blues, according to the Euro model, affecting eastern Jamaica. What time is this? This is 10 p.m. on Friday, tonight. That's according to the Euro model. What does the GFS show? Almost the same thing. What about 5 a.m. tomorrow? Basically the same thing. We'll have lots of rainfall across the eastern portions of the island. Some of it spilling into some coastal areas of some northern and southern parishes. That's according to the Euro. What about the GFS? Basically the same thing. Eastern parishes. And with the southwesterly wind shear, there's a bias toward the northeastern parish. So, Portland might be getting more rain than St. Thomas as well. What about 11 a.m. tomorrow? We see on the Euro, basically the same thing. Eastern parishes, some of it spilling into central parishes. And on the GFS, the same thing, even more rainfall. So when there's agreement in the models like this, we know that there's a higher certainty of this actually taking place, more rainfall in the forecast. And considering that the rainfall is taking place across eastern parishes for such a long period, there's a possibility that we might have some isolated flash flooding in those spots as well. What about during the afternoon? We see that 3 p.m. onward, we could have some afternoon showers still raining across eastern parishes, but it's starting to spill into central and western Jamaica. That's according to the Euro, and the GFS is showing something very similar. And if we actually look at the accumulated precipitation forecast for the Euro, we see that we have, let's say, up to 3/4 of an inch of rain, especially across eastern Jamaica. And then northwestern Jamaica could get in on some of that afternoon rainfall, getting up to almost half an inch of rainfall over that side. But does the GFS show? The GFS shows something quite different. There seems to be some kind of a bias towards southern parishes getting in on some of the rain. But that doesn't make sense to me, considering that we have an easterly flow across the island, plus a southwesterly flow. So this would have to be, in line with more of what the Euro is showing, with more of the northern parishes getting in on some of the moisture. But as you can see, both accumulated forecasts show a lot of rainfall across eastern Jamaica. Some of this gets into the 1 to 1.5 inch range. So as I said before, portions of eastern Jamaica could get in on some of the isolated flooding. So it makes sense that our workers here at Weather Jamaica made this tweet earlier this evening. They said that the ECMWF and GFS supercomputer models are in agreement that portions of eastern Jamaica could receive rainfall late tonight into Saturday morning, also affecting sections of some central and western parishes on Saturday afternoon. Get laundry done early. So basically the same maps that I just showed. Some rainfall is in the forecast. We know that we're still in the rainy season. It runs up until November, then the dry season begins in December. So ensure that you're always bringing your umbrella with you wherever you go. Moving on, so that's it about Jamaica. Let's talk about the entire tropic, shall we? Let's reload this page quickly. All right, so we see where we have some clouds across the MDR. We see where we have lots of moisture across the Western Caribbean. As I said, there's a trough there interacting with a stationary front. So those areas will be getting it on some decent amount of rainfall. Here have the close-up of that area. We see where the western portions of eastern Cuba got some nice thunderstorms this afternoon. There's Jamaica right there, where we saw that thunderstorm this afternoon. And even in the Western Caribbean, so portions of the Grand Cayman Island and portions of Mexico and Belize got in on some of the rainfall, but most of it is still offshore. All right. So let's continue. There's still nothing on the National Hurricane Center's website as yet. Let's hope it stays that way, but I don't think it's gonna stay that way for too long at all. And this is why. First of all, we see that we have a lot of sea surface temperature anomaly. What should I say? We have a lot of warm waters in the Caribbean and the Atlantic still. So we still have that fuel that can support tropical development in a sense, especially up in the subtropics where we see those oranges and reds. The sea surface temperature anomaly map has a lot to do with the weather forecast in terms of tropical development across the Atlantic. What about the wind shear map? Let's talk specifically about November the 26th. We know that that's more than 120 hours. There's a reason for this. What do you notice across the Caribbean? There's less wind shear. There's even upper level high pressure if you actually look closely. And that's not only for the Euro, it's also showing on the GFS. What's this? And a red L, what's that about? Some persons were sending me these images. I'm trying not to look too far at the end of the model runs. This is why we're at the 26th of November. Look at what the Euro is showing. It's showing some moisture across the Southern Caribbean, affecting portions of Haiti, Jamaica, even getting into portions of Central America right there. What does the GFS show? As a matter of fact, what does the GEM show? What does the CMC show? That's the Canadian model. It's showing an L. It's showing a lot of moisture. So it's not only one model that is showing something. So that's the Euro, this is the CMC, and the GFS is showing something similar. That's the 26th of November. So considering that today is the 18th of November, there's a high chance that maybe on the 20th or the 21st or the 22nd, the U.S. National Hurricane Center might just highlight something in that era, something yellow in the Caribbean. We know how that goes already. I stated before, nothing right now for the next 48 hours or for the next 5 days, but that could change early next week. All right, moving on. So let's talk about the accumulated precipitation forecast. So from now up until the 26th of November, we see where portions of the Eastern Caribbean stretching into the Central and Southwestern Caribbean could get in on some moisture anywhere between, let's say, 1 to almost 5.5 inches of rainfall. And we know these things go if it's prolonged over an area for a short amount of time, flooding is possible. Not only the Euro showing that, the GFS is showing something very similar, even more deeper with the reds and the yellows going into high territory of rainfall. So, you know, some serious flooding is a possibility. Let's hope it doesn't actually come true. Even on the weathermaps.org, basically showing the same thing with some different keys and colors. This is not inches, this is millimeters. And look at this around the 26th to the 4th of December. Look at Jamaica in that red and dark black color. So there's a high chance of a lot of rainfall sometime in the Caribbean, let's say before the month ends or even spilling into early December. That would be strange to see so much rainfall in December, because December is usually one of the driest times in the Caribbean, with the exception of northern portions of the Caribbean. So north coast of Hispaniola, north coast of Jamaica. That is where usually we'll see the rainfall if there's a cold front in the air, because hurricane season is shutting down and would have less easterly winds, but there's a lot of easterly trades going on right now. So let's hope nothing tropical develops. Let's hope it remains the same right now as the National Hurricane Center state, but I don't think that's gonna be possible. I mean, look at this tweet. This is another one of those people on Twitter that you guys need to follow. His name is Andy Hazelton. He is an assistant scientist at the University of Miami. He's very good at what he does. He makes a lot of forecasts about meteorology and the Atlantic. He said, interesting to see the GFS flirting with one or more storm for 2022 in the Caribbean. It starts a week out, so a bit long range, but not total fantasy. Probably wouldn't put great odds on something happening, but not totally dismissing it either, with a CCKW in the air. What's a CCKW? That's what's called a convectively coupled Kelvin wave. Okay. So he also said things can also get interesting late season when you have these fronts come down and provide a source of vorticity along the tail. Usually it's a bit earlier than this, like late October or early November, but this year is weird and everything is pushed back, it seems. Yes, definitely a weird year with such a heavy November. We usually don't have so much activity in November, but I guess it all makes up for the very quiet August 2022 that we had. So if you actually look closely at the images that Andy posted, he's highlighting the abundance of moisture that's going to be available in the Caribbean. And what is this right here? If we actually look closely, that is an area of spin south of Jamaica, according to the GFS. This is November the 25th. It was the 26th that I showed. Okay. Today is the 18th, time is running out. And the upper level high pressure, just like what I stated, so less wind shear. So there's a high chance that it might even develop for real. And this is what is called the convectively coupled Kelvin wave, that shows that there is, convergence in the atmosphere for the clouds to be lifting and forming thunderstorms, no problem. Okay, so these are the things that we look out for when we might have some tropical development within an era. So we need to take the necessary precautions. The hurricane season has not ended as yet. It ends on November 30th. And there are times when even past the end of the hurricane season, there are storms still developing. So please ensure that you're all staying alert, being on your P's and Q's. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with your friends, just to get the word out so that there's no one is caught off guard if something should happen by the end of November. Stay tuned. Take care. Bye-bye.